Hey everyone, welcome back to the Incredible India podcast series. I'm Tim.
And I'm Debbie.
Today, we're diving deep into a really fascinating story from 18th century Hyderabad. This actually came about thanks to a listener who mentioned the White Mughals tour.
Right. And this isn't just, dry history. It's packed with romance, betrayal, culture clash.
Absolutely. And it all leaves this lasting impact. So today, we're going to unpack this whole narrative, look at the key landmarks, and really try to give you a sense of why it's so captivating.
A bit of a shortcut to understanding this amazing piece of Indian history.
Exactly. So let's start with the people at the heart of it. We have James Achilles Kirkpatrick. He was a big deal in the East India Company, a high-ranking official.
And Khair-un-Nissa, who was a Hyderabadi noblewoman from a very well-respected family.
So what was the setup? Kirkpatrick gets to Hyderabad around 1797. What's his mission?
Well, fundamentally, his goal was to strengthen the East India Company's grip, its authority in Hyderabad. You have to remember, the company back then was much more than just trade.
Oh yeah, it was a major political power, expanding all over. His role was pretty strategic then.
Very much so. He was there to project British power in the Deccan.
But then, things didn't quite go according to the company plan, did they?
Not exactly. Around 1800, he and Khair-un-Nissa fall in love, and this wasn't just some fling.
Right. It led to marriage.
Yes, according to Muslim law. And get this, Kirkpatrick actually converted to Islam. He adopted the whole Mughal lifestyle.
Wow. That's a huge departure for an East India Company man at that time. You wouldn't expect that at all.
Definitely not. It's a significant personal choice, but it also reflects this complex cultural interaction happening, maybe even a challenge to the social rules of the time.
And then there's another layer, isn't there? The story gets even more dramatic.
It does. There's this twist where Kirkpatrick supposedly becomes a double agent.
A double agent working for Hyderabad.
That's the allegation, yes. Potentially working against the interests of the very company he was supposed to be representing.
So you've got romance, culture, high-stakes politics, history. It's all wrapped up in this one narrative.
It really is, and a central piece of this whole puzzle is the British Residency itself.
Ah, yes, the building.
Yeah.
Our sources call it this really imposing piece of architecture.
Yeah.
You can just imagine it standing there, a real statement.
Absolutely. It was built after the Treaty of 1798 between the Nizam of Hyderabad and the British.
Okay, so the treaty came first.
Right. And that treaty set up what's called a subsidiary alliance. Basically, the Nizam kept his internal rule, but he had to accept British military protection and, crucially, a British resident.
Got it. So the residency building becomes the physical symbol of that British presence, that influence in the Deccan.
Precisely. A very visible symbol of British authority.
And inside, it sounds quite grand. The Durbar Hall, for instance.
Oh, incredibly grand. Think Burma teakwood floors, huge Belgian mirrors, French chandeliers. Really designed to impress. Imagine the official functions held there.
Yeah, you can picture the diplomacy, the tension, perhaps.
And interestingly, the building had a whole second life later on.
Oh, what happened to it?
After India's independence in 1947, it was actually converted into the Osmania Women's College.
That's fascinating. From a symbol of colonial power to an educational institution for women. A real transformation.
It really is. Gives it a completely new meaning.
Now, something else that came up in the reviews we saw. This interesting point about Hyderabad's relationship with the British.
Ah, yes. The fact that Hyderabad state was never actually conquered militarily by the East India Company.
Right. So unlike in many other places, the British presence, and therefore the residency itself, wasn't the result of conquest.
Exactly. It came about through this subsidiary alliance, this treaty with the Nizam. It makes the residency a pretty unique example of European architecture in the city, built under those specific circumstances.
It really highlights that the British influence across India wasn't monolithic, was it? It varied from place to place.
Absolutely. Hyderabad had this quite distinct, nuanced relationship compared to regions under direct rule.
Okay, so around this huge residency building, what else was there? The Residency Bazaar.
Yes, the Residency Bazaar grew up around it. By the mid-19th century, it had become the financial heart of Hyderabad, really. Lots of commerce happening there.
Makes sense, catering to everyone connected to the residency.
And later on, especially after the Sepoy Mutiny in 1857, it was actually fortified. They built high walls, bastions.
Ah, reflecting the increased tension and security worries after the uprising.
Definitely a sign of the times.
Now, there's a detail in this story that's just, well, it really hits home on the personal side. The replica of the residency.
Oh, that part's quite touching, isn't it?
It really is. So, Khair-un-Nissa, observed purdah, the practice of women's seclusion.
Right, which meant she couldn't just visit Kirkpatrick's grand official residence, the main residency building.
So what did he do?
He had a smaller replica built for her, a place she could visit, modeled on his own mansion.
Wow. It just speaks volumes about their connection, doesn't it? Beyond all the politics and grandeur.
It really humanizes them, shows that personal commitment.
The tour itself, the White Mughals tour, also points out other landmarks, like some historic gates.
Yes, the Empress Gate, Robert Gate, and Lansdowne Gate. They're included to kind of set the scene, give you a feel for 18th century Hyderabad structure.
Like stepping back in time, seeing the city layout from their era.
Exactly, physical markers of the past.
And then there's the Rang Mahal.
The Palace of Colors. This was the palace James built within the residency grounds, specifically for Khair-un-Nissa.
So her own space within his official domain.
Yes. And significantly, it's where their daughter, Sahib Begum, was born. It represents their family life, their private world carved out amidst everything else.
The tour also mentions a few other spots. A cemetery, a stepwell, even a resident's dog memorial.
Yeah, those smaller details help flesh out the picture, don't they? They hint at the broader community, the everyday life happening around the residency, not just the main players.
It paints a fuller scene. Okay, so shifting gears to the tour itself, it sounds like it's not just walking around looking at buildings.
No, it's guided. And the guide is described as a cultural evangelist.
Okay, that suggests someone really passionate about the story and the context.
Which is crucial, I think. Understanding the cultural nuances, the social norms of the 18th century is key to really getting this story.
And they offer private tours, too.
Yes, which is great if you want that more personalized experience. You can set your own pace, ask more specific questions.
Dive deeper into the bits that really interest you.
Exactly.
And it seems the tour also benefits the local community.
Yes, they mentioned training and employing local guides, which is always a positive aspect of responsible tourism.
Good to hear. What are people saying about it? The reviews sound pretty good.
Overwhelmingly positive, actually. People mention specific guides like Shrinu and Kumar being really knowledgeable. They talk about a fascinating historical walk, the residency being well restored.
And apparently, you don't even need to have read the book White Mughals to find it engaging.
Right. That suggests the guides are doing a great job bringing the history and the human story to life on the spot. It speaks to the power of the narrative itself.
Makes sense. Okay, practical stuff. How does it work?
Well, it includes hotel pickup and drop-off, which is convenient. Transport is by car, usually an Innova for 4 or more people, or a sedan for smaller groups or individuals.
And entrance fees are included.
Yep, all covered. It's a half-day tour, roughly 9 a.m. to about 1:30 p.m.
And the route covers the key places we've talked about.
Yes, Bank Street, the British Residency itself, the Residency Bazaar, that replica building, and the 3 historic gates. It seems quite comprehensive for a half-day.
Okay. And any idea on cost?
The pricing varies by group size. It starts at around 3,500 rupees per person if you have 4 or more people.
No.
For 2 or 3 people, it's about 4,500 rupees each. And for a single person, it's 6,500 rupees.
All right, so different options depending on who you're traveling with.
Exactly. Makes it fairly accessible.
You know, this whole story, forbidden love, cultural immersion, political drama, all playing out in 18th century Hyderabad. It just offers such a unique window into that whole complex time.
It really does. That mix of the deeply personal against these huge historical shifts is what makes it so gripping, I think.
Yeah. We hope this deep dive has sparked your curiosity and given you a real feel for this incredible narrative.
It's a powerful reminder of how individual lives get caught up in the currents of history, giving us that human connection to the past.
Absolutely. So if you are interested in seeing these places for yourself, you can book the White Mughals tour. For more details or to actually book it, you can send an email to contact@5sensestours.com. That's the numeral 5, sensestours.com.
Right. Or you can call or send a WhatsApp message. The number is +91 984 56 77446.
That sounds like a pretty amazing way to connect with this history directly, walking in their footsteps, so to speak.
Definitely.
Makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other incredible stories are just waiting there, hidden in the layers of history all around us, waiting to be uncovered?
That's a great thought to ponder until our next deep dive.